Yesterday, a new hotfix for Conan Exiles dropped, with fixes targeted at some of the pressing issues that have plagued the game recently. It's officially the first fix of the new year, and with so many problems rearing their heads, what has this hotfix done to clear some of those issues off the board? Let's find out. Firstly, this hotfix is out right now for PC and PlayStation. The Xbox update is still in certification according to posts from the team. The last hotfix also got held up on Xbox too. I'm not sure if that was by cert problems, but it may have been. Then again, the last hotfix seemed to have fixed very little and caused more issues, so it getting held may have been a blessing in disguise for Xbox. The core of it though is that this hotfix is delayed on the Xbox platform, so until Microsoft get through the certification, players on that console will have to wait, unfortunately. I'll try and keep the pinned comment updated with news of when it releases. As for what's in the patch notes themselves, it's fairly short and sweet, and the notes cite the following fixes. Significantly shorten load times for getting in-game. This targets the infinite loading issue created in the last hotfix. Various crash fixes, such as at the end of the intro cinematic, continuing a single player session from the main menu, killing unassigned rescue thralls and more. Fixed various undermesh kill zones on both the Isle of Siptar and the Exiled lands. Unconscious thralls no longer disappear when assigning one to be converted in a Wheel of Pain. Artisan tables now recognise Carpenter Thrall bonuses. Chairs used by thralls can now be used by players after the thrall leaves, and finally, if a player logs out while resting in a bed or a sarcophagus, getting out will no longer break the player's functionality. I gotta be honest, it's not a huge list of fixes, but the first and the fourth ones are super important. The first targets that infinite loading issue that many people, myself included, suffered from when the first Age of Heroes hotfix dropped. That was sometime in October, and my Isle of Siptar save has just been inaccessible since then. To be honest, it was a supremely annoying issue, especially if you had put a lot of work into a single player world that you now just couldn't access. This issue hit me really hard on my Siptar save. I'd been unable to get onto it since halfway through the October competition, with load times in excess of 3 hours if not more. Well, after this patch, I loaded into Siptar just fine, and everything seems back to normal, so it certainly seems to have fixed the issue for me. Hopefully it's done the same for others that couldn't load in. The issue of unconscious thralls disappearing from the Wheel of Pain is one I heard mainly around the Age of Heroes launch, but it's a big issue regardless. Finding a thrall, knocking him out and dragging him home, only for him to vanish on the wheel, is incredibly frustrating. That should be fixed with this patch. The other fixes are fairly important too, though I will say this hotfix only really hits a few of the many pain points. I know people would have been looking for fixes to living settlements and the companions, whereas these fixes address a few of the larger issues and kind of skirt the edges of the settlement system. I know the issues faced by that system are very hefty. I imagine it will be tackled in the spring update, but I know people will be disappointed that it wasn't really fixed in this update. Given how long it's taking, I would imagine it's probably a pretty big and complex issue. Hopefully the extra time spent fixing it actually results in it being properly fixed and not just a half measure. Getting that infinite loading bug gone is a big win in my books though. The people that were hit by it couldn't even play unless they started a new save, and I think not being able to even load into single player is a slightly more important issue than living settlements currently, so I'm glad to see that targeted and hopefully rectified for everyone suffering through that issue. I'm making this video literally just after the update has dropped, so there aren't many reports of issues thus far. More may filter in as the day goes on, but at the moment, not much. The patch had a relatively small amount of fixes, though certainly some important ones, especially in relation to fixing that infinite loading issue. I think the team are probably gearing up some of the bigger fixes for living settlements, companions, falling through foundations, etc. towards the spring update. I'm expecting that to take a big swing at the issues, but if nothing else, I'm glad the infinite loading has been fixed. The only workaround was to back up your saves and create a new one, and if you were on console, you couldn't even back those saves up. I'm very happy I can now load my old Siptar save. Hopefully anyone else who was unable to access their old saves can now actually play the game again. I have seen a couple of people say there were some undocumented fixes in this patch. Someone in my Discord mentioned that fall damage is now lethal again, and 1 or 2 forum comments that the update contained fixes that weren't in the notes. I've not independently confirmed it yet, but if there are some minor things that suddenly seem to have been fixed, that may be it. Assuming this hotfix hasn't created any new issues, which I've not heard anything about just yet, it could be a small victory, something I really hope is the case because past updates have just been L after L after L. Hopefully this patch doesn't spite me for saying that. It seems every time that I record the words, "this patch seems to be fine, a new issue is found," hopefully this video bucks the trend of that. There are still plenty of issues to fix, and that upcoming spring update is going to be important in that aspect, but this hotfix seems to have rectified a small number of important issues. Again, I'll try to keep the pinned comment updated with news about the hotfix coming to Xbox. Hopefully it's sooner rather than later. Anyway, that will wrap us up for today. Just some brief news about this new hotfix. We're still waiting on the big spring update that will hopefully bring a ton of bug fixes. So if you want all the news, builds, lore, reviews and plenty more about Conan Exiles, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to see videos early and support the channel directly, consider joining us over on Patreon, link in the description and pinned comment. Take care, and I'll see you soon.